Okay, so first impressions of the new exotic mission for Act 3 of Echoes. I thought it was good. We didn't really know a ton about what this was going to be, other than, a big exotic mission's coming, and then there was chatter saying this is going to be the biggest one yet. And, I don't know what people were really expecting with Bungie just saying big. Like, I don't, we're not going to get a dungeon-sized level activity. There needs to be something in the middle, and I think this is a little more sufficient for an exotic quest. I think it really did meet the mark. I mean, it's not, this big, tedious outing, but it's not super small, and every space kind of feels a little well used. Like, there is purpose to how they designed teaching you the mechanic and doing the puzzling and platforming, and I thought it was good in that. I think Avalon is a little overstays its welcome a little bit with certain aspects of that, and just comparing it to other things. I also, on the counter, the Season of the Wish bow quest, that one just felt a bit. It took forever to really get to like the action, and it was just kind of boring at certain points. And then the boss just happens, and then it's done. But this one, I feel like, kind of has a good build up. You kind of get what's going on with what you have to do, and people talk about like the new experience. Oh, there's nothing in the game that really teaches you how to get into it, and this is one of those things where I think there was some good stuff that like Bungie tried to do with mechanics, because they don't really. There's not a ton where like unless you're raiding or doing dungeons and other stuff. There's not like a ton that kind of pushes you in that right direction. But with this, I feel like they kind of just it's not a bad thing to throw at somebody relatively new if this is their first time trying anything and trying to figure out having the things click through repetition, through going things. Oh, I have to bring this thing here, and I think it works out for that, and I think there is a lesson to be learned for achieving that goal by doing these kind of missions. Because if somebody just had to do this way condensed down in a seasonal activity, it would be boring. Nobody wants to do that. So, you don't need to have something that you're supposed to crush in like 8 to 10 minute sessions be this science project. It's not really that fun. But with this feels a little more earned and interesting. But, as far as the lore goes with this one had a bit more flavor to it. It was a bit interesting to kind of get the insight of Maya Sundaresh stuff and all that. Again, it really is kind of your pick. If you're not really feeling the vibe of this season, I don't know if you're going to be into it. If there's a small critique I'd have, I kind of wish we didn't have this axe system the way that they do, because this would have been great dropping around in like one of the like combined dead zones weeks that we have. But I understand that they're just trying to do this like 3 on 3 off model. Fortunately enough, Revenant changes that, but that's okay. So yeah, no, this feels good. There's gonna be more to it when you have to get the weapon. The weapon itself, I played around with it a little bit. It's actually kind of interesting for like a using one of the enemy weapons. It's supposed to be like the Wyvern's armor, like their cannon, and you ADS, you get more of like a traditional rifle sense, and then if you shoot off the hip, you get sort of like a couple of shots of special, because it uses special ammo and it kind of has its whole system, and it uses the ammo faster that way. So I think it works out, and also thematically it's good. I never really liked when we got those missions or just a quest where they're like, oh, or even just a seasonal pass thing where it's like, yeah, okay, this is the exotic, and it has nothing to do with any of the season, so enjoy. As far as anything wrong, I have had a few bugs, mostly with the mechanics, where if you fall off in a certain way and you had the buff on, you won't be able to get the buff, and you can kind of tell when the game is having a problem because there's not more stuff spawning in. And I had this problem with the boss, with a different mechanic where he has like a shield that you have to break, and you break this little thing, but you're supposed to get a notification that you cleared the plate and it worked. And in this case, you'll clear the plate, there will be no enemies, there will be nothing to add, so you kind of just have to restart, which kind of stinks. But I understand that that's just one of those things that happens. Like we've had way more of bigger offender bugs, so I get people who are saying like, oh, they didn't playtest this. It's like, I get it, but all right, just don't plan your solo flawless master of this one today if you value your time, which I don't even know if there is a triumph for it, so good luck. But overall, I think the experience is pretty good. These aren't, again, this is not going to be some dungeon quality level stuff or like jam packed. I think it's pretty appropriate, and for these missions, I could see myself enjoying this one a bit more than like the way more mindless ones. Like Presage gets tiresome, especially since we had to run it so many times and all that. So I'd rather run this now than like some of the other ones. I hate Seraph Shield so much because it's just ground down every time you have to go do a mechanic. These mechanics are actually engaging. There's actually a combat challenge to be on your toes about. That's fun. If none of this is really jumping out at you, I don't really know what's going to change your mind on it. I don't really know what more could be done. But anyway, that's a conversation for a different day. Have a good one.